Today on Classic Game Room on the prestigious CGR Interview series, we are speaking with Spencer Brooks, a producer at Playfish, and we'll be talking today about the game Risk Factions, which is a playable game on Facebook. And good morning to you, Spencer.
Good morning.
So, what can you tell us about Risk Factions?
Well, Risk Factions was sort of a brand offshoot that we created several years ago. Initially, was created for Xbox Live Arcade, and in that version, we wanted to take the existing board game and we wanted to sort of tweak it a bit for console play, and a few things that we really wanted to do in that version was shorten gameplay quite a bit. Also in 2008, Hasbro, they updated some of the rules for the classic version, and they added this really great objective-based gameplay that really shortened the game. It also allowed all the people to actually stay in the game, even when the game was over, or in theory that to happen. So you didn't have this sort of two-player slugfest at the end that took anywhere from several hours to several days. So that was a huge improvement, we thought. And the other thing we added was the factions. I was sort of sick of just playing the red guy or the green guy or the blue guy, and thought, hey, let's add a backstory and some fiction to this. And one of the things we did is let's add, we'll have a human army, but do zombies and cats and yetis and robots.
Oh, zombies versus cats.
Yeah, a classic matchup.
That's the battle. Zombies hate cats.
Of course. Of course. We all know this.
And cats hate robots.
Yes. So we set up a kind of an interesting little fiction there. We had a lot of sort of cinematics as to sort of why these things are fighting each other. And now we said, that worked out really well on XBLA, and let's go ahead and take that to Facebook. So when we did that, we wanted to actually update a little bit more of the whole sub-brand we created. So one of the things that really bugged me about the first Risk Factions on XBLA was the factions weren't really that different. I mean, they looked different, but it was just sort of window dressing.
Okay.
They didn't play differently. So in the Facebook version, we definitely wanted to make sure that they played differently. They had unique powers. And the other thing we really wanted to do was add a sense of persistence to the Facebook version. So give you a feeling like you're leveling up, you're unlocking the new factions, you're unlocking new special weapons, that kind of thing.
And this is a free game on Facebook.
Correct. This is a free-to-play with microtransactions game on Facebook.
It's unbelievable how many good free games are available these days that people can just jump into, get involved, and then there's, as you mentioned, additional things you can purchase later on, right?
Correct.
To me, this seems like an ingenious business model, getting people into the game, and if they really like it, they can buy more. What kind of stuff can they buy in Risk Factions on Facebook?
Good question. So, as you said, the game is sort of free to play. There are purchasable items. You've got decorations for your base. You can get little advantages and buy extra special weapons. You can build. We've got these little special weapon factories that create the things like Donkey Cannon and Metron and the Dander Bomb, but they take a while and they take a bit of grinding to create. So if you want to have a lot of them on your base and you want to have them always at your fingertips, so when you play your friends, you've got a lot of these things locked and loaded. We can offer to sell you extra ones. You can sort of speed your progression through the tech tree by buying your way through it if you want.
Yeah.
So you can definitely pay to sort of accelerate your advance through the unlocks and the leveling up process.
Well, a lot of us grew up back in the console days. In fact, I have an Atari 2600 sitting right next to me. And it's amazing that this kind of stuff is even possible. Do you see a huge shift in the way that people are enjoying their games? Are they moving from consoles to the internet, to places like Facebook where there's millions of people? And I saw on your website that you have over 2 million people that like you on Facebook. And that's a lot of people that like you. So you got a huge audience there.
I would say, Facebook is a really, really interesting platform. I don't think Facebook is going to supplant consoles, but I do think it's a new, interesting platform in the mix. I think, there's a lot of us that are always going to want to sit down and play, Mass Effect 3 on a 50-inch plasma. But I do think we want to get our game on a little at work and here and there, and we just want sort of a light, quick gaming experience, and I think that's what Facebook does. I do think Facebook gaming is here to stay. I also think that you're going to start seeing some more core gamers play on Facebook, especially games like Risk Factions that sort of appeal to core gamers a little bit more. I mean, Risk has got multiplayer. It's very competitive. There's actually a winner and a loser at the end of it. There's a leaderboard system. So, I do think going forward, you're going to see some more interesting titles come out there that core gamers are going to say, maybe I shouldn't be quite so dismissive about the Facebook games being sort of non-games.
Well, and your company has put out a number of other Facebook games that people would recognize. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Sims, most recently, which is, based on the #1 PC game of all time. So, and an absolutely great version of The Sims. And very true to sort of the brand that it's based after. So, I do think, again, there are a lot of opportunities there. I think EA is aggressively going after these opportunities as well.
I noticed a number of the other board games that EA has put out. We have Life, the Game of Life. Everyone remembers the Game of Life from back in the day. Monopoly, Scrabble. And these are like classic, traditional Hasbro games. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, we've been very aggressive at activating some of these brands on mobile, and they are very popular, and people do want to play these classic games that they've played as kids on their iPhones, on their iPads, on their Androids, and even on their console. So yes, there is that sort of nostalgia that people really, really want to recreate in the digital space.
Well, these great classic brand names like Monopoly, and I've played a lot of these games on the Xbox 360. I'm not as familiar with Facebook games myself, but I certainly understand why people would be into Facebook. If you're spending a lot of time there, you can play one of your friends on Facebook in a game of Risk Factions. Now, how long would a traditional game of Risk Factions take, and how is it different from the old school board game version of Risk that many of us are familiar with?
Well, I would say the classic board game, if you're playing the classic World Conquest rules, I mean, many hours to a day. I mean, it can really be a slugfest and take forever. And it's really sort of, as people drop out or get defeated in the game, it just seems to go on and on. I'd say the 2008 rules that Hasbro updated, games go a lot faster. I think you can, I think realistically about an hour if people know what they're doing. Risk Factions on Facebook and XBLA is maybe a little bit longer than that. On Facebook, the games go as fast as people are engaged. So if sort of everyone's online, the turns go really pretty quickly. And the special weapons actually speed the game up a lot because they obviously put a lot of hurt on your opponents pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I've played them recently, and they've taken 45 minutes if we're all online. If everybody's sort of taking 1 or 2 turns a day, they obviously take a bit longer.
So you don't have to actually play the person in real time. You can play when you get a moment, and then your friend plays when they get a moment.
Correct. So every couple seconds, it'll let you know, like, hey, so and so just took their turn, and a little thing pops up, and you just click a button, and it switches over to that map that you're playing, and you can play a whole bunch of maps at once.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, that's a great way to play, because unlike the old days where you had to actually sit down and pretend like you like the person you were playing a game with, now you can just take your turns. You never see them. It's a nice casual experience. I do like that.